Hello and welcome in. My name is Aiden Shields, aka The Sports Moron. Welcome to episode number 2. In this week, we're going to be talking about NFL Week 4, all the games from Thursday Night Football to Sunday Night Football. The Monday Night Football game hasn't occurred yet, Rams and 49ers, so obviously can't talk about that. And then we're going to wrap up the show this Monday with a little bit of fantasy football talk, who you should be targeting on the waiver wire going into week 5. But we're going to kick it off with the Bengals and the Dolphins. So the Bengals won this game 27-15. They've won 2 in a row now, last week against the Jets. Who really gives a fuck? The Jets blow. But they won against the Dolphins this week. They are a contender. Last week I had them ranked number 2 in the power rankings, and it was a much needed win. I think it's going to boost the Bengals' confidence quite a bit, knowing that they can beat legitimate good teams. And that's something that they really struggled with in the first 2 weeks. Now, they cleaned up a lot of things from those first 2 weeks in weeks 3 and weeks 4. Namely, protecting Joe Burrow. He's a national treasure. Let's keep him upright at all costs. The offensive line, in terms of pass protection at the very least, is playing very well. And then their defense has also stepped up and made some big plays and is not allowing the amount of scoring that you would, lose a game because of, as in the first 2 weeks. So their defense is playing a lot better. Their pass protection for their O-line is playing a lot better. Now, the big thing for the Bengals that we need to see some improvement on is the running game. Joe Mixon carried the ball 24 times for 61 yards. That is an abysmal 2.5 yards per carry. That's awful. That needs to get sorted. It needs to get sorted fast, because he's a dynamic player. He's very good in between the tackles. He's good on stretches outside the tackle box. He is a great player, and they need to figure out how to get the ball in his hands and really show that they are a good running team. You cannot win in the NFL with just having a great passing game. You have to have some reliance on the run, because the run sets up the pass so well. So they really need to figure out how to best utilize Joe Mixon and how to figure out how to get Joe Mixon moving up the field more than 2.5 yards per attempt. You just can't have that. You just can't have it. Now, there was a big play that the Bengals had on Thursday Night Football that I wanted to talk about, because I think it emphasizes how big of a gap there is in how good people think Jamar Chase is and how good teams think T. Higgins is. Because there was a play where the Bengals came out 3 wide on the right and T. Higgins isolated on the left side of the field. Now the Dolphins had 2 safeties over top, and both were angling toward the 3 receiver side. And even when they dropped back, all eyes were on the 3 receiver side, with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and I believe Hayden Hurst was out there as well, which means T. Higgins was left alone on an island, one-on-one with a corner. I'm not exactly sure who that corner was, but they got fucking burnt. T. Higgins goes right up the sideline, beats him easily on this go ball, catches like a 59-yard touchdown. You got to respect T. Higgins, and defenses are going to learn the hard way that if you try to take away Jamar Chase, you're going to get burned by T. Higgins. If you try to take away T. Higgins, you're going to get burned by Jamar Chase. If you figure out by some magical mathematical fuckery that you can take both of those guys away, you're going to get burned by Tyler Boyd and Hayden Hurst. So teams really have to figure out how to respect this Bengals offense, especially now that the offensive line has learned how to pass protect and talk and communicate, how to pick up stunts and things like that. Now we're going to talk about the Dolphins. So first things first, Tua had a kind of scary injury last Sunday playing against the Bills, where he just got up after hitting his head on the turf and he fell just straight down. It looks like his knees kind of gave out underneath him. And the story that we heard on Sunday was that it was a neck/back injury, and so there was some sort of lingering issue, and somehow that affected his legs. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Who am I? right? What do I know? I don't know shit. But there was some sort of issue with Tua, and it was written off as kind of a back injury. He passed concussion protocols, he passed concussion tests, he did all these things with an independent neurologist as well as Dolphins team doctors, and he was cleared to play. So he came back out Sunday, played through the rest of the game, and then was cleared for Thursday's game. Now, in Thursday's game, he got thrown to the ground. It was a really, really scary play because he got carted and was like strapped onto the cart as he got taken off the field. You know, I personally was thinking, holy shit, maybe paralysis, because they were talking about it, his injury as if it was a neck or a back injury. And clearly that was not the case. He had a concussion. And what I really hated seeing was the amount of disrespect and just blatant misunderstanding of NFL protocol, especially the concussion protocol, that was directed at Mike McDaniel. I mean, there were people like just questioning his character. They were going after Mike McDaniel as if he's the independent doctor who said, oh yeah, you're good, when clearly Tua was not. He is taking the advice of people who are more intelligent than him in their respective professions. And yet the media blew up as if it was Mike McDaniel making all the damn decisions. And it was just so much ignorance that it pissed me off to like an unimaginable degree. People who don't understand what the NFL concussion protocols are should not have any opinion on how they are then enforced. And then to blame somebody who is not involved in the diagnosing of a concussion should not be then held liable for a doctor's miss. Like, you can't do that. You can't just blame Mike McDaniel because you don't understand the concussion protocol and you're going to throw this big fucking hissy fit over something that you're ignorant about. And to see people genuinely questioning Mike McDaniel's character when you know that he's not the one making the decision, or you should know he's not the one making it's infuriating. If we want to have a conversation about the NFL concussion protocols as a whole, that's a different argument. That's one that makes sense. Is the independent neurologist a good move? Is there something that you're missing in the concussion protocol to not have this same mistake happen again and again and again? That's a different conversation than putting the blame on somebody who just got advice from a doctor and said, cool, you said he's good, Tua says he's good, I'm going to play him. It's what a good coach does. He takes the advice of people who are more knowledgeable than him in certain areas. We saw this happen on a much different scenario in Denver with Nathaniel Hackett. He brings in a guy to do the game managing because, hey, he's an offensive play caller. That's what he knows how to do. He's not familiar with managing a game. So why is he going to sit there and go, man, you know what, I suck at managing a game, but I'm going to do it anyway, and my team's going to lose for it. So then you put concussions in it, and it's like the head coach is going to override the independent neurologist as if Mike McDaniel knows more than him. Like, that's just so stupid and asinine. It blows my mind that people were actually upset about Mike McDaniel without having any concept of what the NFL protocols are. And I understand that this has been brought to a national predominance in the news and in the media, particularly because we're watching real-life CTE unfold with an ex-NFL player in Antonio Brown occur right now. No, he's not been diagnosed, but it's so impossible to say CTE is not affecting his decision-making and his ability to function in this society because we're watching it unfold live. And as we watch Antonio Brown fall apart in front of God and everybody, it's hard to then watch Tua get slammed down and go through these concussion protocols and pass when clearly he shouldn't have, and then play and then get another concussion. I get it. I get it. There should be outrage. There should be, but it needs to be put in the right place. Now, the NFL has already, or the NFLPA, or one of the two, or both, I don't know, fired the independent neurologist. Good, get him out of here. Clearly, he doesn't know enough. And they're reviewing the current NFL concussion protocols. So it's exactly what we wanted to see. There could be changes as early as NFL Week 5. I'm not 100% sure how realistic that is. How does it take a week to review and assess and change protocol? I don't know. People smarter than me handling those decisions, I'm going to let them do that. But I'm glad that they're reviewing it because clearly something needs to happen. I don't know what. I'm just a doofus with a camera, right? I don't know. Now, I did just check Twitter, and Tua has been officially ruled out of Sunday's game. So he will not be playing. Teddy B will take his place. I'm concerned about that. I don't think the Dolphins are going to win with Teddy B at quarterback. He played okay on Thursday, but okay ain't going to win you many games. Now, I also wanted to talk about the Jaguars playing at the Eagles. This was Doug Peterson's welcome back to Philadelphia, this time on the opposite sideline coaching the Jaguars. He took a year off due to some personal things going on in his life. It's not my business to explain what's going on with Doug Peterson, nor am I going to even attempt to remember all of the things that happened over the past year where he was not in coaching. But he made his return to Philly, and it didn't go great. The Jaguars lost to the Eagles 29-21. Now, that was mainly because of Trevor Lawrence. I was really excited to watch this game because I wanted to watch Trevor Lawrence play, because I'm really curious to see how well he stacks up in the NFL. He was the guy in high school. He was the guy in college. Everybody said he was going to be the guy in the NFL. Clearly, the talent is off the charts. But he made a lot of mistakes on Sunday. And I get it, the rain and the weather and everything like that had a big impact on his performance, but Jalen Hurts was playing in that weather. He didn't make the same mistakes. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson were also playing in rainy conditions. They didn't have the same issues that Trevor Lawrence had. And I get it, Trevor Lawrence is a bit younger than those guys. I'm with it. I'm not hitting the panic button on Trevor Lawrence, but this game was not a good representation of who Trevor Lawrence is as a quarterback for me to evaluate and, have an informed opinion on whether or not he is or will be the guy in the NFL. He was 11 of 23 passing for 174 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. The interception was really, really bad. It was in the red zone. He was trying to force the ball to Christian Kirk, but he stared down Christian Kirk the entire time and then just kind of floated it to him. The corner was in soft coverage and had plenty of time to just walk right over, pick that thing off, and just mosey on about his day. So that was tough to see. And then he also fumbled the ball 4 times. 4 fucking fumbles. One was a muff snap. One was he was rolling out to his right. He only had one hand on the ball, and it just slipped out of his hand. I don't really understand how that happens. 2 others as well. I don't remember what happened on those plays, but he lost all 4. So Trevor Lawrence alone had 5 turnovers. And this is really concerning because the Jags started so hot. Their first drive, they drove all the way down the field, scored a touchdown. On the Eagles' first drive, Jalen Hurts threw a really bad pick into double coverage, got knocked in the air, and Andre Cisco just came out, fielded it like a punt and just dipped that thing to the end zone. So they took an early 14-0 lead, and then Trevor Lawrence turned the ball over 5 times. And that was pretty much all she wrote for the Eagles and Jags game. Now, there was this big storyline last year regarding Miles Sanders about how he was being criminally underutilized in Nick Sirianni's offense, which he was, let's all face it. But this year, it seems to be a changing narrative. On Sunday, he had 27 carries, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. He had a great game, and it seems like the Eagles just have weapons all over the field and can just run the ball, pass the ball, do whatever they need to do to score and just win games. They're 4-0. They're the best team in the league. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. The Bills played in Baltimore on Sunday. This was also a rainy game. And the Bills pulled this one out at the buzzer, winning 23-20 on a last-second Tyler Bass field goal. This was a very needed adjustment that the Bills needed to make because they lost a similar game last week to the Dolphins, where they needed to drive down the field to get in field goal range to kick a field goal to win or tie it. And they just ran out of time last week. This week, they did not, and they were able to pull out the victory. Now, Josh Allen was okay. The Bills didn't look great in the first half. The Ravens going into halftime led 20-3. A little bit nerve-wracking there, but the Bills came back in the second half, came roaring back to win 23-20. And it really scares me the amount of times already this season the Ravens have had a really big lead and blown that thing. 2 weeks ago when they played the Dolphins, they were leading 28-7, and the Dolphins came back to win that game 41-38. Can't have that. This past week on Sunday, they were up 20-3 and ended up losing 23-20. They didn't score at all in the second half. That's a problem as well. So, man, the Ravens have to figure that out because they will not be able to pull off victories in the playoffs and late into the season if they squander their leads, right? It's awesome that they jump out to these big leads and they're able to put teams on their heels right away. But if you can't sustain that lead, if you're not able to score or stop the opposing defense once you take that lead, there's not really much you can do. So the Ravens need to tighten that up. There's apparently a call for one of the Harbaugh's jobs. Won't even lie to you, no idea which one. They look the same to me. I think it's John, but I'm going to go with John. Again, Sports Moron podcast. Hello, welcome in if you're new. But there's chance for him to be fired already. Marcus Peters was visibly upset with him on the sidelines. I don't really know what's going on there, but you know what? On second thought, I'm starting to think it's Jim, dude. I don't know. And to be frank, I just don't really care either. But they're calling for Harbaugh's job. I don't know if that's necessarily called for because the defensive coordinator also wasn't doing a great job. So it's hard, but fire him or don't. I don't care. Just pay Lamar his money. Although he's got to be better too. No points in the second half. I mean, come on. We can't have that. Now, the Cardinals beat the Panthers on Sunday. This was an unimpressive showcase by the Cardinals, by the Panthers, by Kyler, by Baker, by Cliff Kingsbury, by Matt Rule. Pretty much all parties involved. This was a disgusting game to watch. Missed opportunities over and over and over and over again on both sides of the ball. First and foremost, I'm not going to place all the blame at the feet of Baker Mayfield. He's in a terrible situation. It's not good. Matt Rule and Ben McAdoo are absolute fucking morons for the NFL. They need to go from Carolina. They're just so bad. I'm not even going to get into it, but they're awful. Baker Mayfield had a bunch of passes batted down at the line of scrimmage. I believe it was 9 passes batted down at the line of scrimmage, which is just awful coaching for the offensive line. I'm seeing it everywhere. People are blaming Baker Mayfield as if it's his fault that the offensive linemen are not punishing the defense for jumping. You are taught as an offensive lineman from a very early age that if a D lineman leaves his feet, you punish that motherfucker. It's unacceptable that the offensive line was like, oh, we jumped again. Oh, geez, what do I do? Chip the man. What are we talking about? Like, they jump up and the offensive line you're letting it happen. over and over and over and over again. You let it happen. Balls just getting tipped and falling to the ground or getting picked off. And it's abysmal offensive line play, and it's abysmal coaching on behalf of the Carolina Panthers. Just unacceptable. Flat out unacceptable. Now, from the Cardinals' perspective, Kyler Murray is not the guy I want to be my franchise quarterback, and he is not living up to that big fucking payday that he got this offseason. The Cardinals are now 2-2 through 4 games. They haven't really played the best competition, especially since one of the wins against the fucking Panthers. Come on. And you only won by 10 points? Dude, like Kyler threw a bad pick over the middle to Frankie Louvu, who took it for 6. It was a 4th down. They're trying to get a 4th down conversion, and Kyler's trying to go fast, and he's like all flustered and panicking and screaming and wondering why everybody isn't getting lined up. And it's because you're a bad leader, dog. I don't know what you're not understanding, but let's turn on the self-awareness and realize that you are a baby. You look like a baby. You run like a baby. I mean, like, you're just a child in a man's body. Well, a baby's body, really. But he's not a good leader, and like it seems like his team just does not trust him, and he's yelling. So they're trying to get everything set up for this 4th down conversion. He's screaming. Nobody's getting ready. Cliff has to call a timeout, and Kyler's big pissed. He's all frustrated and flustered, and he's screaming and waving his arms around like a child, and he's like, we got to go faster. And Cliff's like, no shit, dude. You need to go faster. Like, it's Kyler Murray's job to get the offense set. It's his job. And he's pissed off at everybody else because he's not doing his job. I mean, it's stupidity at the highest level. And this guy just got broken off, and he's just not there. He's got all the arm talent in the world. That's awesome. And he can run around and extend plays, and that's cool. But there's a lot more to football than having a good arm and running around. There's a lot more. And as long as he is the quarterback for the Cardinals, I have no faith that the Cardinals will make it to the Super Bowl. Sorry. You can have all the talent in the world that you want. Doesn't matter. You know who else had all the talent in the world? Jamarcus Russell. Okay then, let's stop talking about how talented he is. Jeez, kills me. Cardinals are in a bad spot. They're not a legit team, in my personal opinion, because they struggle to pull out victories against teams like the fucking Panthers. It makes my blood boil. They're not as good as the media and everybody wants to hype them up to be. They're not. Stop hyping them up. Wait till Kyler Murray proves in a big situation that he can be the guy to lead his team. Have we seen that happen yet? I've seen him crumble in the playoffs. Is that what we want? I didn't think so. Now, the Patriots played at Lambeau on Sunday. The Packers pulled this one out in a surprise overtime, 27-24 on a last-second field goal. Well, not really last second, but you know what I mean. Field goal in overtime. Both teams had the ball in OT. Mason Crosby knocks in a field goal to end the game. Aaron Rodgers and this offense are able to move the ball effectively without Davante Adams. I don't really understand why it was a conversation in the offseason. It's not a real thing that they're going to struggle without Davante Adams. They played fine. The Patriots defense played really, really well. Jack Jones had a pick 6 off Aaron Rodgers, which you love to see from a rookie corner. And, his connection with Romeo Doubs is really good. His connection with Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard are still really good. The one thing that the Packers and Aaron Rodgers really needs to clean up is that deep ball connection with Christian Watson. You can tell Christian Watson can get open deep because of the amount of deep shots they take to him, but they're not connecting on them yet. Packers need to work on that connection with Rodgers and Christian Watson. Once they do that, they'll be in a great position to continue to win games. They're 3-1 right now, so excited to see what they can do. Now, Bailey Zappi came into this game, and he played so well. 10 of 15 passing, 99 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. That's exactly what you want to see out of your third-string rookie QB. Great play by him in this game. Love to see it. Now, the Patriots' ground game was also really good in this game. Damian Harris had 18 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown, 4.8 yards per carry. Incredibly good. Ramondre Stevenson, 14 carries, 66 yards, I think. Yeah, which was 4.7 yards per carry, which was really good as well. The Patriots, surprisingly don't stink. I didn't know that. I'm sure you didn't know that. I like that. Patriots don't stink. Potentially. Book it. So the Chiefs played in Tampa against the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football, and the Chiefs won this game 41-31. Their offense is incredible. Even without Tyreek Hill, this offense flies around. The creative schemes that Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy have going on in Kansas City is, in my opinion, along with Pat Mahomes, of course, is what is the driving force behind the Kansas City Chiefs' success. We've been, as a fan base and as an NFL kind of community, we've been putting a lot of the, winning culture of Kansas City on the back of Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and while, yes, those guys absolutely are part of the reason that Kansas City has been so good for so long at this point, but Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy really have created an offense that can get you in a whole lot of different ways. When they had Tyreek Hill on the roster, it was through big chunk plays and these, 1 to 2 play drives that just go 75 yards down the field, because who can keep up with Tyreek Hill? And Pat Mahomes can throw the ball all types of over the yard. So that's how the Chiefs have been winning. Because teams just could not stack up from a speed perspective against the Chiefs. Now this year they've kind of flipped the script a little bit because they don't have that deep ball threat of a Tyreek Hill. They have MVS, but his skill set is a little bit different. He's more of just the flyer, where Tyreek Hill really has a ton of ball skills. MVS sort of lacks in those areas, not to a huge degree, but you get my point. The Chiefs have moved away from their big chunk play offense to a much more methodical, marching down the field style of offense that gives you 9 to 12 plays, takes up a lot of time of possession, and they set you up with plays that they run in the first and second quarters to hit some bigger plays in the third quarter. What I mean by that is they had a couple plays where Juju would come motioning from the slot, run in front of Mahomes' face, kind of do this little twirl around and run this sort of bubble screen and off to, the side of the play, and they would, get these blockers set up, and it was a really effective play. They ran it 2 or 3 times, and then later in the game they ran essentially the same play, but this time MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, kind of released when he saw Antoine Winfield Jr. press up, because Antoine said, "Hey, I've seen this before. I'm going to blow this shit up." And MVS just whoop right by him down the sideline. It was a big 15, 20-yard play. And the Chiefs are just doing little things like that to set up the defense so that they don't have to take these big shots all the time. They can just march right down the field. They have a great running game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been phenomenal this season. Isaiah Pacheco, we finally see what he can do when he gets legitimate, consistent touches over the course of a game. He was outstanding. I mean, it was just awesome to see all around from the Chiefs. They do so many creative things on the offensive side of the ball. They had Noah Gray take a direct under center snap on the goal line to rush for a touchdown. They just do so many different things, so many creative things with all this eye candy, and they're a great team. They're a great team, and they're going to continue to be great because it doesn't matter who's running the routes. It doesn't matter. As long as you're a good athlete, you have some good football acumen and intelligence, you don't have to be a Tyreek Hill. You don't have to be a Travis Kelce. They got all types of different tight ends involved in the game against the Bucs. They did a bunch of really cool stuff with 3 different running backs. They were doing a whole bunch of things with a whole bunch of different players in different positions and different formations. It's the scheme that really allows the players to elevate their game. It's not the players elevating the game unless it's Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce at this point. Those guys are definitely elevating the scheme. But, guys like Juju, MVS, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Isaiah Pacheco, those guys aren't necessarily elevating the scheme. The scheme is really allowing them to flourish, whereas Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce just go out there and just crush it. We should appreciate those two a lot. Zach Schomler said it last year that we should appreciate Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill kind of on the same field all at once, and then Tyreek left that season. Who knows how long Travis Kelce is going to play for, but we need to appreciate those two and their connection while they're still doing it. Now, I really did think that the Chiefs were going to pull this one out, and I thought they were going to win by a wider margin because of Hurricane Ian. I thought the Bucs players were going to have a lot more important things on their mind than just the football game. Their families, their homes, their whole lives in Tampa that just got smacked by this really, really devastating storm. And the Bucs played really well for how much was on their minds and how much was going on in their personal lives off the field. Their offense is struggling to get into a rhythm. Not everybody has been on the field at the same time. On Sunday night, they were kind of all on the field. You had Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Cole Beasley. They were all playing. Leonard Fournette out of the backfield. Rachaad White had a pretty good game out of the backfield as well. He's a rookie. He played well. Cam Brate was out there. Unfortunately, he got hurt, but the 2 other tight ends, maybe even 3 tight ends, got involved for the Bucs. They're a good squad. I just don't know that they have the caliber at this point to make a playoff push. We are in week 4. I'm not pushing the panic button really on any team quite yet, but the Bucs have not shown the same level of consistency that they had when they had their playoff run, even to the degree that they had last year. There is obviously a chance that they all can come together before the end of the season and make that final playoff push. And, we'll just have to wait and see there. Tom Brady absolutely still has it. He was slaying the rock all around the yard on Sunday night. And the only issue I really had with the Bucs was their defense allowed too many easy yards from the Chiefs' offense. It just didn't seem like the defense was all together, all firing on all cylinders there. And the Bucs ran the ball 6 times. 6 times. You can't have that. I don't care if Tom Brady's your quarterback. You can't run the ball 6 times. I said it in last week's episode. I've said it already in this episode. In order to have an effective passing game, you have to have an effective running game. They build off of each other. So to run the ball 6 times and then lose, I'm not surprised. That's what happens. You can't have a one-dimensional offense and then be like, shit, we lost. Who possibly could have foreseen such an outstanding set of you ran the ball 6 times. You expect to score on every single drive when all you're doing is throwing the ball. Chiefs can just sit in nickel and dime packages and just, what are you going to do? Right? You can put up 31 points. Cool, that's great. Doesn't really help when the Chiefs put up 41, right? Needs to be a better game plan from the Bucs. But Chiefs pulled this one out. They look to be a top 12 team. Absolutely. Bucks maybe lower on that list. Power rankings will come out Thursday or Friday of this week, and I'll dive into all of that a little bit later. So the NFL changed its Pro Bowl rules, which is absolutely something that needed to happen. Fans and players and everybody basically has been asking for it for a significant period of time now. They've removed the 11 on 11 full pads, just a normal game. They've removed that, thank goodness. Unnecessary possibility of players getting injured, and last year it turned into like a touch football game. Nobody wants to see that. What they've done is it's going to be now a week-long event where the Pro Bowlers will come down. It seems like they're going to do like some skills challenges thing. Maybe we'll see, longest pass yard from a quarterback, that competition, bring that back. Maybe the lineman bench press will come back. There's still going to be dodgeball. And then they're going to have this 7-on-7 flag football game, which I don't know. I'm kind of in the air on this. It's not confirmed that it's going to be a 7-on-7 flag football game. They just have flag football out there, but they have already said that linemen won't participate. So it seems like a 7-on-7 type of deal. I can't imagine that'll be extremely entertaining to watch, but I mean, it might be kind of fun to watch. I know there's a flag football league now that was like started by maybe Mike Vick or something that I think did well. Who knows? I don't. But that could be interesting. But the NFL needed to change the Pro Bowl because it was such a waste every single year. I feel like people stopped tuning in. I personally stopped tuning in because it just wasn't interesting to me. Like, I want to see the players do individual drills to see who's the best at what, who's the most accurate quarterback, who has the best arm. Who does not want to watch Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, all just heaving a football downfield to see who can throw it the farthest? I fucking do. I hope you do too. You should. That'd be fucking awesome. Like, let's bring that back. I don't know what else they could possibly do over the course of a full week. I think it adds a lot of different variety, and there's going to be a ton of content the NFL can put out, which I'm personally excited for. I like when there's a lot of content to consume because then I have more things to talk about. But it's just great to see players doing individual drills and things like that, see who's the best in respective categories. Maybe there's going to be a 40-yard dash. Who's the fastest guy in the NFL? It's Tyreek Hill. But if Kevontae Turpin makes the Pro Bowl, I want to see those two race because Kevontae Turpin, I think, has a very similar game to Tyreek Hill, personally. So we'll see how that goes. But really excited to see what this new Pro Bowl format is going to officially look like. They haven't released all the details, just a little bit that they have put out. So just wanted to address that. And yeah, that's the new Pro Bowl from what we know now. So we'll talk about fantasy football waivers, the guys you need to be targeting for NFL Week 5. In terms of running backs, Latavius Murray could be a good option if Alvin Kamara is out for Week 5. Unconfirmed yet whether or not he will or will not play. It'll just kind of depend on that. But if Alvin Kamara is out, absolutely Latavius Murray should be on your roster as somebody who could potentially play, maybe an RB2, maybe a flex option, depending on what league you're in. On Sunday, he had 11 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. I really don't understand how he's not consistently on an NFL roster. He's proved throughout his entire career that he is a great running back. Every time he steps onto the field, he is a beast. He's like DeMarco Murray way back when. I believe they shared the same backfield at one point, but he's an absolute beast. The fact that he got elevated from the practice squad makes me sick. Like, it's ridiculous. He should absolutely be on an NFL roster and starting at all times. He is starting to get old, but he's playing at a high level, playing better than Mark Ingram, so he should be playing absolutely. In terms of wide receivers, Josh Reynolds should be getting put on a lot of teams. He has 3 great performances back to back, scoring above 10 points or more. On Sunday, he had 7 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown. His connection with Jared Goff is legit. They played together on the Rams. They're together here on the Giants, and their connection has been really good to this point in the season. So pick up Josh Reynolds if you don't have him. Corey Davis on the Jets. He's also put together 3 great fantasy performances, scoring at least 13 points in 3 of 4 games to this point. On Sunday, he had 5 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Target Corey Davis if he's on waivers. George Pickens, he might be finally starting to get into a consistent target share. On Sunday, he had 6 catches on 8 targets for 102 yards. The week before, he had 7 targets. He might be a flex guy for now. I want to wait and see if he gets more integrated into this offense. Once week 5 is over, I think we'll have a better gauge on whether or not he's going to be a staple in the offense. I think he should be. And if you want to take that gamble, he should be a flex, maybe even a wide receiver 2, depending on your roster. In terms of tight ends, Tyler Conklin, we're going back to the Jets. Surprisingly, they're really good in fantasy this year. He's getting targets every single game. Nothing flashy, but enough to get consistent points. He's only had 1 game so far under 10 points. Go get this guy. I mean, if you have like a Darren Waller or Kyle Pitts who's not putting up any points so far this season, this is a guy who can come in and make an immediate impact to your fantasy team. Similarly, Will Dissly, he's scored a touchdown in 3 of 4 games to this point in the season. He had a great game last week. He's not putting up a ton of targets. I think 4 or 5 targets is his most in a game, but I think he has a reception for every single target. So that's really encouraging, and he's scored in 3 of 4 games so far. He's putting up points. He could be an option for you, absolutely, in terms of fantasy. All right, we'll talk a little bit about my Fanduel challenge. If you did not see last week's episode, which was pretty much everybody on the planet, I am doing this challenge where I put $10 into my Fanduel account. I bet every single cent every single week, and we'll see where we end the season with or how long this challenge goes. And let me tell you, I had an abysmal start to this challenge. So I had a same game parlay plus 254 odds. It was Kansas City Chiefs minus 1.5. That hit. And then I took the under of 45.5 points. I thought the Bucks defense was going to play a little bit better, and I thought the offense for the Bucks was going to be a little bit worse due to Hurricane Ian. Underestimated both of those, so that missed. I had a same game parlay with the Detroit Lions over 48.5 points. If you see the Lions are playing anybody, hit the over on that. But I also had the Lions money line. That missed because they lost by 3 to the fucking Seahawks. 6-leg parlay, Lions and Browns, they both lost, so I missed that one as well. And then I had a risk-free same-game parlay with the Bengals and the Dolphins. I missed 3 of the 4 legs that I had there, so just the worst. I fucking suck at sports betting. I'm the worst. The worst. Now, I did hit one, and that was the Arizona Cardinals. I had them just money line. Smack that. Duh. Against the Panthers. That was just an easy bet.